I wanted to record a short video on unwanted behaviours because as your puppies grow and develop, inevitably they are going to test us at some point. They're going to test you at some point. They're going to throw a few things in to make you think, oh, why are you doing that? I wish you wouldn't do that. I wish you wouldn't jump up. I wish you wouldn't bite my hands. Oh, I wish you wouldn't bark at the postman. You know, there's lots of behaviours that puppies will display as they're growing and going through the different developmental phases. And I'm not going to get into a whole big, you know, if your puppy does that, then do this kind of tutorial, because actually a lot of it is situation specific. So what is happening in your household with a particular behaviour, that behaviour could be triggered by a million different things. And sitting here behind my camera doing a recording for you, I've got no way of accurately diagnosing what's going on. You know, I see a million internet posts of people going, my dog's doing this, what shall I do? And a load of lay people commenting, do this, do that, do the other. Until you can see a dog in its natural environment, with its family, watch how it interacts and see the group dynamic, nobody should be giving you behavioural advice. Training advice is one thing, but behavioural advice, analysing why a dog is doing something and therefore trying to correct it via the internet, is massively unprofessional. So anybody that's trying to do that, in my opinion, you have to watch with your own eye and see what's happening. However, there are lots of common behaviours that puppies display, and most of them are down to being babies, and most of them are down to being overtired. No different from the toddler having a tantrum in the supermarket and laying on the floor and screaming and waving his arms and legs all over the place and embarrassing the parent. It's that kind of behaviour. So the mindset that I want to put across to you is that if your dog is doing something that you don't like, telling it not to do it is not going to create the desired effect. It might stop doing it for a short period of time there and then, but over time it's going to creep back into doing it. So for example, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to go to Weight Watchers, and for 6 months I'm going to be really good, and I'm not going to eat any chips, and I'm not going to eat any bread, and I'm going to lay off the alcohol, and it's going to be fabulous. And then, you know, Christmas comes along and those habits start to creep back in again, and oh, you know, I fancy having a drink on a Friday night, and that packet of crisps looks really tasty. And the behaviours will creep back in again. And you may remember, well, I better not eat a chocolate bar in front of my mates from Weight Watchers, but when I'm not being watched, I'm going to do what I naturally would like to do. Dogs are no different. They may be like, I'm not allowed to do that in here, definitely not. But when I'm out in the garden, I can do what I like. Nobody can stop me. Same thing, okay? So what you need to do is not allow your dog to create behaviour patterns in its mind that therefore lead to the repetitions of the behaviours that you don't want. And what you need to do is give them something else to do that you do want them to do. So you need to create positive behaviours instead of allowing negative behaviours to continue, whatever they are, okay? So if your dog is mouthing the children's hands, for example, let's use that as an example. Have something high value like a Kong with stuffed treats in it, or a high value chewy toy like a deer antler or a beef pizzle. So when the dog starts chewing on the kid's fingers and you think, no, that's not cool, we're not really into that, give the dog something else to chew. It's probably chewing the kid's fingers because it's teething, give it something else to chew. If your dog is jumping up and going berserk at the front door every time somebody turns up, don't let your dog get access to the front door. Stop the behaviour by not shouting at the dog, no, no, no. Just don't let the dog get to the front door, and then it can't keep repeating the same behaviours. You know, create a situation where the dog can't access the door, and perhaps put a note on the door saying, please don't knock, please text, because the knock of the front door will be the trigger to the behaviour. So if you put a note on the door saying, please don't knock on the door, please text me to tell me that you're here, it will stop the knock from happening. If the knock doesn't happen, you can control the dog. You ding, text message, there's a delivery at the door, okay, go and put the dog in its crate with its squeaky toy. The dog's in its crate playing, you go to the door and address who's ever at the door, and you have prevented that behaviour from occurring. So there's just a couple of examples of how you can manage the situation so behaviours are not repeated. That is the key to it. Not repeating the behaviours and therefore not allowing them to be consolidated in the dog's mind. So I hope that gives you a bit of a steer on what to do. You know, shouting at the dog, no, 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 no. Or don't do that, or telling the dog off. The dog's like, okay, well, what am I supposed to be doing then? You know, telling it no is a nothing. Now, I'm not saying you should never tell your dog no. I'm not suggesting that. It's completely impractical. Everybody tells their dog no at some point. But just get into the mindset of offering it something else to do. You might tell it no and then offer it something else to do. You know, reasonably speaking, in a normal working family, that's what's going to happen. So, you know, take the dog off, give the dog something positive to do, and manage the unwanted behaviours so that they stop happening. Okay? Any questions? You know where I am.